Peace be with you, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Trevor. Very grateful to have you here. And today's video, I'm just going to be sharing with you my weekly rotation, rounding out the second week of January here. So my rotation ended on the 14th, so got a full 7 days from the 7th through the 14th here, with a few fragrances that, if you've been keying in on some of my previous videos, will be a little bit redundant. I just did a top 15 January fragrance video, and a lot of these are going to be popping up in today's rotation from that list, but there's a few outliers here, a couple things that I recently added to the collection that I'm happy to talk about, give my thoughts on, and just share how my week in my fragrance journey was with all of you. So without further ado, I'm going to get started off with Monday. So Monday started off with this fragrance, which was one of my pioneering wears with it. I've worn it quite a few times around the house, but this was one of my first times wearing it to work, and this is Gucci Intense Oud. So I haven't gotten my nose on the actual black Afghano yet, but I have smelled a few other clones besides this one, being the Woods collection. I think Dark Forest is the name of it. This one definitely runs in the same vein as that, but this reminds me a little bit more of a slightly darker kind of Tom Ford's Oud Wood. These both share in this kind of fruity nuance that the overall composition is giving off. I think Oud Wood does so with a rosewood accord in there. This one, I'm not too sure exactly where the sort of fruity vibe is coming from, but this is very much a smooth, creamy, semi-fruity, dark, woody, earthy, elegant fragrance. Easily could be a signature scent. It just wears inoffensively while having a very unique composition that's not in your average run-of-the-mill shower gel archetype, I would say. Really great for the cold weather as well. It does a good job of piercing through any of the thin air that you might be dealing with. I know where I'm at right now, that's relatively important. We just dropped down into sub-zero temperatures yesterday. I think it hit -8. And so wearing something like this is going to be good for those transitions from the car to wherever your destination is going to be. And for me, as a delivery driver, I'm out in this pretty regularly, so this was a more than welcome companion for me on Monday. Gucci Intense Oud. So for Tuesday, another dark but relatively easy to wear fragrance. This one is not as great as at cutting through the cold. The density on this one isn't quite there. It is a dark fragrance, but it has some light brevity to it. I think this would be a great office fragrance for the winter time. Some of the terms that come to mind for me with this fragrance are an iron fist and a velvet glove, and also the idea of rhetoric. Enveloping hard to digest concepts in easy to understand language. That's what this fragrance is to me, and is none other than Chanel's Antaeus. Really looking forward to kind of getting my nose on vintage formulations of this, but this version, the most recent edition, which I just picked up I think over the fall or spring or summer or fall, I can't remember exactly, but really beautiful. Like I said, easy to wear, inoffensive office style fragrance with a dark edge to it. What comes to the foreground for me in terms of the notes that are most prominent are leather, rose, a little bit of an animalic castoreum kind of feel to it, a bit of like an oak mossy style, old school. You get that powerhouse vibe, but it's not very dated in any way or too scratchy, I want to say. This is very smooth, light, airy, but dark and dense at the same time. Yeah, like myrrh also is one of the main players in here, which is why I love wearing this in the January season, as resins and myrrh are some of my favorite fragrance notes for this time of the year. And just really great, beautiful, masculine style leather, rose, myrrh, and a little bit of an animalic touch in here. A little bit of a green, airy vibe to it as well. So really something I would recommend sampling, as it might not be for everybody, but this is something that I'm really looking forward to wearing a lot more throughout the entirety of the whole year. I think you can probably pull this off even on hot summer days. So that is Chanel's Antaeus. This next one for Wednesday. Wednesday, I spent most of the day hanging out around the house, doing some sort of chores and things of that nature. Didn't go into work until the evening time. So I actually got this in the mail on Wednesday and put it on as my fragrance of the day, so I didn't really wear anything up until maybe about 3 or 4 in the afternoon after I got this one in the mail, but it was a more than welcome wearing experience. It was a little bit more light and citrusy than I was anticipating, something that I think I might be reaching for more in the autumn season than here in the winter, but it is very dense, creamy, vanillic, sweet, but it does have this very light, playful quality to it that I think, like I said, is going to be more apt for like September, October for me maybe. Even though it is heralded as more of a winter fragrance, I did get reminded a little bit in the opening of Lolita Lempicka's Green Lover, kind of like an orange creamsicle vibe. This is Nishane Ani. So I got a really good deal on this one. I got this 50 ml bottle for like $85. So it was on discount, so I decided to grab this one while I could. And yeah, I think this went over really well with the people that I was delivering to their houses to. A lot of the people had some pleasantly surprised looks on their faces when they were answering the doors. My tips were a little bit higher than normal from wearing this fragrance, so I might have to try it out a little bit more throughout this winter season. Like I said, very inviting, almost like creamsicle opening with some citrus nuances, maybe like some grapefruit. I haven't looked at the exact note breakdown, but it dries down into a really beautiful and kind of loud vanilla, so I definitely was picking up wafts of this around me the entire wearing experience, and it was like pretty loud and enjoyable. Definitely unisex. I would say that this is not your alpha male style fragrance by any means, but definitely something that I would be looking forward to wearing throughout the course of the cold season coming up here in 2024. So that was Nishane Ani for Wednesday. Thursday, another somewhat unsung hero in the fragrance designer space, not really talked about that much. I think some of the more recent videos on this fragrance came out like 5 or 6 years ago. I've seen that Ramsey, Eugene, and Mark at Robes 08 have all spoken about this fragrance. Those were some of the people that kind of turned me on to it anyway. But this is Black from Comme des Garcons. I actually picked this up off of Quick Fragrance Reviews recommendation. He does a lot of like 1-minute reviews, and he's got like, I think he's tried thousands of fragrances, so definitely check his channel out. I'll link him in the description below. But this is a really beautiful, opens up kind of fresh with a black pepper note, and then it has this very smoky burnt rubber vibe going on throughout the course of the wearing experience. It kind of reminds me of like doing burnouts in a garage or on a more like one of those, like in a garage where the laminate has been laid on the floor, so it's not exactly like burning rubber on top of asphalt per se, but it's got that burnt rubber feeling to it, a lot of smokiness coming in from like a birch and maybe like oleobanum I think might be in here, and then it sweetens it up with this really nice licorice note, so a little bit dark, not exactly sweet as something like Sauvage Elixir or Lempicka Homme, but very rubbery, smoky, and sweet licorice is really the main players here. And then the opening has a really refreshing black pepper note that kind of moves it into something with enough dimensionality to be worn as a fragrance, and it gives it a really good cologne feel to it. Definitely something I'm really glad that I picked up. I think this is a all-star for the winter season, and I'm looking forward to getting a lot more wears out of it throughout the course of this January. So that was Black from Comme des Garcons. So that was Thursday. Friday I like to wear niche fragrances, and this is the one that I decided to don on that day. It was pretty chilly, overcast, dark for at least a portion of the day. I think the sun started to peek out, and we got a lot of it over the weekend period, even though that was when the temperature plummeted the most. But this is Winter Nights from Dasein Fragrances. So this, I believe, was done in conjunction with Josh Meyer from Imaginary Authors, and you can definitely pick up that signature scent profile in here, as this is a really good combination of Cape Heartache and A City on Fire from Imaginary Authors. It removes the strawberry nuances from Cape Heartache and replaces it with a very nice sort of gentlemanly lavender. But yeah, you definitely get this bonfire in a pine wood forest sensation from this fragrance. The smoky nuances are really present in the opening, but as it begins to dry down, you get this cardamom and lavender smoothness to the fragrance. It has this little bit of a dusty textural feel that is somewhat present in most of the Imaginary Author fragrances that I've tried. So it definitely has that sort of signature feel that you get from that genre or house of fragrances. But yeah, really, really nice fragrance for anybody that likes the pine forest or evergreen style note breakdown in the winter time. It does have that brisk, mentholic, refreshing quality hidden underneath of all the smoke, and somewhat of a novelty in the sense that it has black juice, which is pretty cool. Definitely one of my favorite wearing experiences for this past week of January. This is Winter Nights for Friday. Saturday, it was super cold. I think it was -4, so even though it was colder on Sunday, I decided to stay at home on Saturday and just kind of hang out with my daughter. Didn't really get out and do much, just kind of had a lazy day. I think I might have filmed my top 15 January video on Saturday, but this is the fragrance that I decided to wear that day. This is Sensual Patchouli from Angelschleser. So this is one of 4 fragrances in this line. I've covered 3 of them on my channel. You can go check that out. But this is, all of these fragrances are rather linear, which is the only detracting point from them, but they've all been perfumed by Hamid Moradi Kashani, who's done many of the Parfum de Marly fragrances, I believe like Leighton and Pegasus. So you've got his nose working the composition of these fragrances. They range in price between $40 and $60 depending on where you're picking them up at. I think Fragrance Net generally is the one that has these most in stock. And Sebastian, the perfume guy, has covered these as well and said that this is probably his favorite as it's the most wearable, and I have to agree that I think this and the leather version are both very wearable. This one has a really nice earthy green nuanced patchouli in here, very creamy as well. I think there's a jasmine note and black pepper, the only other listed notes. And the black pepper offers up a very fresh wearability to this fragrance, kind of like I was mentioning in Comme des Garcons Black. It just gives it enough dimensionality despite being rather linear, and then the creamy nuances in here are very welcome and not too effeminate. This is very much a masculine fragrance in my opinion. I think the black pepper helps to pull it in that direction. But yeah, it was just a really nice, easy to wear fragrance to wear around the house on Saturday, and the earthy greenness I think also was pretty pronounced in this frigid cold weather. I actually did end up layering this later on in the evening after wearing this throughout the course of the day alongside of Boss Bottled Elixir, which is another really great patchouli fragrance that leans into an earthy direction, and the combination was rather delightful. So if you've got both of those, definitely try checking out that layering combination. But this was Sensual Patchouli for Saturday from Angelschleser. To round off the week, I did get out and about on Sunday, even though it dropped into the -8-degree mark. I had some laundry that I desperately needed to get done, and I usually do it over at my parents' house. Our washer and dryer broke a little while ago, so we've been using my parents. So me and my daughter went over there and hung out with them for a little while, and this was the fragrance that I decided to rock for my going out that day. This is Prada Amber Pour Homme Intense, and this, again, like I said, with the Chanel's Antaeus, has a prominent myrrh note, which is one of my favorite notes to wear during this cold, bitter winter season. And otherwise, this has a really nice, almost fruity style soapiness going on in here. There's saffron, I think, is a little bit more prominent in the original Prada Amber Pour Homme, whereas the myrrh is more dominant here. But you get this overall very clean, soapy, but darkened up a little bit more yeah, just depth to this one. It's just like a deeper, richer version of the Prada Amber Pour Homme, if you're familiar with that. This just amplifies the resins in here. And while this is, I believe, discontinued officially, they still have it on Fragrance Net right now, as well as a few eBay and Amazon sellers that you can check out. And there is a fragrance that I think smells somewhat similar to this, but it has really poor longevity, but it is a cheapie if you're interested. It is Dasein Black, I believe. Also a very prominent soapy myrrh style fragrance. It gets compared to Rive Gauche, but I don't really see that. I think this is more similar to that, and I've layered the two of them to great success. This one helping the longevity of the other, and the other one helping the projection on this one, as this one does sit a little bit close to the skin. But yeah, really beautiful, dark, soapy fragrance, and something that I love for, office indoor wear during this period of the year in deep January. So that was Prada Amber Pour Homme Intense for Sunday. Okay, that was my week in fragrance. Let me know what your rotation was in the comment section down below. Let me know if you have any recommendations for me to check out based on the fragrances that I was wearing here this week. If you think my tastes might align with something that you've tried, let me know what that is in the comment section down below. And as always, I really appreciate you sticking with me to the end. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.